Retrograde is a 2022 Canadian drama film, not to be confused with the war documentary. This one's directed and written by Adrian Murray, and I found it on the Canopy app. It's a Canadian film. If it wasn't on the Canopy app, I probably would have never heard of it. But this one's a very simple plot, which turns into a kind of interesting film. The movie is about Molly. In the film's opening, she's been pulled over by a police officer who tells her that she tried to cut him off, and reckless driving will give her a minor traffic citation. So he writes her the ticket. She tries to argue and say, "Hey, you waved me in though," and he goes, "No, I didn't." And then he just leaves her with a ticket, and that's it. So she took the day off work to drive her friend Gabrielle there, and Gabrielle's going to move in with Molly and her other friend, and in a 3-bedroom apartment. So we then cut to Molly at work. She basically just does like advertising or something, and she won't let this traffic ticket go. This is the concept of the movie. She basically is entitled and very neurotic and anxious and very emotionally immature, so she immediately calls a lawyer who kind of talks her down and says, "Hey, it's not really worth it to just pay the $300 or just try to argue it in court." But she won't do that, so she starts pursuing it, and it starts to eat at her personal relationships. Like her new roommate won't testify because she didn't see it, and it's like this movie is a masterclass in awkward conversations. The camera's always static and it's very stiff, but it's done like that on purpose. It's going for like a really stagnant kind of like awkward comedy. Usually sometimes the scenes are only like 20 seconds literally, but Molly won't let it go, and she starts emailing a prosecutor and trying to escalate things, and it's starting to affect her work. I think the biggest problem of this movie is that it ends really abruptly without much of a resolution. It makes it feel documentary-like, but this is a movie. You could have easily had another good 20 to 30 minutes just showing her like losing everything or just putting it all at risk over something so dumb, and just but it sort of becomes a wet noodle at the end of the movie, and it just ends up just fizzling out and just ending abruptly. I would have liked to see a little bit more. It'd be like watching a movie where like it cuts off the last half hour, basically. That's what it felt like. The movie's only like an hour and 15 minutes, but it's got some great dialogue exchanges. The acting's fine. I relate the concept. It's very universal. You've had this sort of situation where you're like, it's not about the money, it's the principle. I used to work at a call center where you get rebates of $50 when you buy a washer or dryer. And I guess an old man was sent a check for $49.99. So he literally escalated it, and my boss had to issue him a check for 1 penny. Wasn't worth doing all that work and all that calling and wasting all that time for a check for a penny, but this man wanted it, and this is before America and Canada got rid of the penny. But I've also been in a situation too where I was in a friend's car, and this police officer was driving, and my friend who was driving thought he was going too slow, so he cut him off, and then he got pulled over and wrote him a ticket. And I didn't testify like Gabrielle in the movie because I didn't think it would do anything, and I didn't want to miss work or miss school because I was in high school. So it's a very universal story. It just needed a better outcome. You know, maybe it was a budget thing, but either way, I don't know if it's worth checking out because of the unsatisfying ending, but it's also part of the film's charm. So I give Retrograde a 4 out of 10.